Hello, everyone. This is Never Too Late Cafe, the sponsor of Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, and I'm Laura Womack, your host. And today I have with me a very special guest, and I'm going to have him introduce himself and tell you where he's from.
Hey, Laura, I'm Timmy Riordan, and I'm living just outside Boston. And I'm a songwriter, and I really focus on offering opportunities for other songwriters to get their songs written and tools to help them write those songs. So, one of the things that I do to do that, it's this thing called the Fearless Songwriter Challenge, which is basically just to write 7 songs in 7 days. We have a little songwriting group. We have a group on Facebook where usually, somewhere between 20 or 30 people sign up, and then about 8 or 9 get through it, and a bunch of people write just 1 or 2 songs or maybe a few more. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really great community.
So you give prompts, is that correct? Just, is it a word or a phrase?
Yeah, the prompts are usually just like a couple words, and then I'll also include an image. So, for instance, I offer a weekly prompt on my blog as well, which is timmyr.com. But the weekly prompts this week, I kind of scour some art blogs for interesting images. This week, I just found something this like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to come up with it. It's a picture of a squid, like kind of like a natural, like like you would find in a field guide or something like that. And since squids look so much like octopuses, I just decided to go with the prompt, my friend, because it made me think of My Octopus Friend, which I still have not watched, but is a documentary on Netflix that I know a lot of people have really enjoyed. So I like that juxtaposition of kind of words and images. I try to kind of do something that might even spark something else if you were to kind of combine the two. And yeah, it's usually just a simple phrase, something like that, and that image as well.
I might add that many years ago, I think we've looked at it was probably 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
That when I had a studio in Massachusetts, you did a songwriting group, and I think it was a weekend thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember it was a one word, and I remember the word was pocket watch. Isn't it funny after all these years? And, the lyrics kind of came up for me, but not it was like a song kind of like this. But since I don't play an instrument, it was just very interesting. So I think if you help people do that sort of thing, it was a lot of fun. So,
yeah.
So,
yeah, I remember that weekend. I'm sorry, what were you about to say?
So you do these sort of groups. So how frequently do you do your groups?
So the Fearless Challenge goes on, I think 6 times a year right now. So it's usually January, the first week in January, about the 3rd week in April, 2nd or 3rd week in July most of the time. And then we do another one in August. That's one of the things that got me started. Let me finish first. Then the first week or the 2nd week in November as well. There'll be one, my friend Beth DeSombre, who also lives in the Boston area, runs one in February too. She just kind of takes over the thing and offers her own prompts. And she's doing that for a project called February Album Writing Month, which it's at fawm.org, FAWM.org. But yeah, those two in the middle of the summer, they're so close together, are kind of focused around offering an opportunity to write songs before this thing called the Rocky Mountain Rocky Mountain Song School, and then after as well. So it's like a last ditch opportunity before you go to the song school, and then the opportunity for people who've been to the song school to kind of try whatever they learned while they were there out.
Interesting. So during your events, is there an opportunity for individuals to share what they're doing, lyrics, or play a little on the Facebook group?
Yeah, absolutely. The group is there kind of for support, and so you can post your songs pretty much every day. People do a quick recording and just post it up to the group, and it doesn't, it's not professional. It's just a scratch recording. Yeah, it's a great way, like, and people will comment as well. And it's kind of focused on if people are commenting, I encourage the community, the culture has become to, focus in on what you like about the song and what you think the songwriter did well, because since it's such an intensive experience, I don't like active criticism, active, like, kind of even constructive feedback that might focus on something that's negative. I feel like could be something that, like, when you go to write the next day, you're thinking, oh, I can't do this thing. Whereas the real focus of the thing is just to show up and kind of put resistance to the side. So that, you show up and you just say, forget it. I'm just going to write. I'm not going to worry about whether it's good or bad. That's kind of part of the culture of what I'm offering, is to, just kind of dive in. And it's meant to be like a little bit of a sprint where you're doing it so fast that hopefully you don't think about it too much. And the other things that kind of support that are this, like, loose guideline that you're supposed to write it in like 45 minutes to an hour. Write the song in 45 minutes to an hour, and then, just I suggest that people take, like, another 15 or minutes to just, like, do a quick recording to get it done. And that's also because, you're writing a song every day for a week. Like, it's hard. Not everyone has a whole lot of time to do that. So I also don't want it to be something that, like, kind of like, the goldfish expands to the size of the bowl, as they say. So, I kind of try to keep that fishbowl smaller, or at least suggest that for people. After you've done it for a while, there are people that have done it a number of times. I've done it a number of times. Like, I probably end up taking, in all honesty, like, half hour, 2.5 hours on songs that, that I really want to kind of, like, polish up a little bit, that I feel like I have something going on with. If I hit flow and, and it's just happening and I, like, am into it. But I also know, like, if I have no time at all, I could probably finish a song that's considered, a rough draft in like a half hour or something like that. That's fine.
Well, that's great, because it sounds like, if someone said, oh, 7 days, I can't offer 7 days all day, but as these sprints, as you call them, makes it doable for more people. So
yeah.
And
yeah,
I
that's
like
the idea.
And I like the fact that you're talking about, people not offering critique. I think creative people tend to have their own inner critic, and it can stop them. And that's really supportive when you say it that way, that just offer, because one person's constructive criticism or critique might be construed as negative to somebody else, and they might clam up. So that's great words of wisdom there. So you also are a singer yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I remember you had an album out, or?
Oh man, it's been so yeah, no, I have a couple of albums out. I released one pretty close to the time when we were doing the Artist Way together, and that Songwriters Workshop together. I think I released one in like 2005. It might have been right when we were hanging out in Watertown. And I released another one, I think, in 2010, which was a full album. The one that I did in around 2005 was a 5-song EP. And I haven't focused on working as a solo artist a lot since then. Like I write my songs. I have some songs that like that I want to get out into the world, and that's part of my focus like for the next year probably.
Hmm.
But I was working on that, on that idea of like, trying to be like a solo performer and all that stuff for a while. And I realized at a certain point that it really wasn't my thing. Like I think these days, like there's, and what I mean by like that, like I love the songwriting part. I really love working on the songs and making those come together. But going out and performing and doing the marketing and getting people out to the shows and all that's involved in the actual performance of part of being like a singer-songwriter. Um, I found that I was just kind of avoiding and procrastinating on. And at a certain point, I realized that just it wasn't serving me to continue to try to do that the way that I was doing it. So I I stopped and I started focusing in more, actually not right away. I kind of like the Fearless Songwriter Challenge has been going on for 10 years or something like that now. And that never stopped, but like I kind of stopped for a little while. There was like a while where I was even kind of fallow on really like writing many songs. And then probably 4 or 5 years ago, I went back to the Rocky Mountain Song School. It'd been a couple of years, and that's when I think I started writing again more frequently and kind of like got more involved in making, I don't know, in the Fearless Songwriter thing again as well, where it wasn't just me like posting the prompts and like letting people do their thing. I was kind of more actively writing and figuring out ways to help people as well.
Well, it's really great to find what you're passionate about. And sometimes it is the process of saying, this doesn't work for me before you
Hmm.
can figure out what does. And I've been there many times myself. So I know you play guitar
Yeah.
and you teach as well.
Yeah, I do some teaching. I'm focused on songwriting in my teaching for the most part.
Okay.
And also like a little bit another focus is making the way that music works, which is often called music theory,
Hmm.
uh, accessible to people. And I try not to call it music theory just because like music theory scares people. But I've figured out like mnemonic beat guides chord flow that really helps just show how chords kind of fit together and how they like to work with each other and how they like to play with each other. And that's one thing that is kind of the focus of my blog is taking a song a week and kind of looking at how that works musically or finding some interesting tidbit about how what's helping to push it and push it forward, I guess. I don't know what I want to say there. What makes it tick, I guess. And what makes it effective, I guess. Um, which is a lot of fun. I like nerding out about that stuff, but I also want to make it I hope that I'm making it accessible to people when I do that.
By dissecting the song, and you do that lyrically
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah,
So the Rocky Mountain Songwriting
yeah, the
Festival,
song school, yeah,
Song
yeah.
School, where's that located?
It's in Lyons, Colorado, um, and which is just north of Boulder.
Okay.
And yeah, it's great. It is on a place. There's a place called Planet Bluegrass, which is if you're looking for it, well, where you'll find it is search. I mean, if you search Rocky Mountain Song School, you'll find it as well. But it's on like planetbluegrass.com or .org or something like that. And It's been going on since I think 1996. And it's just a really great community. It's kind of a second family for me at this point. I went probably 6 or 7 years in a row,
Mm.
back from like 2004 to like 2010. And it's just it's if you are a songwriter, if you're someone who loves songwriting and wants to become a better songwriter, especially if you're like, kind of like a singer songwriter, guitarist, folky, Americana type person. It's a great place to go. It's a really inclusive community. And you just go, and who's teaching there these days? Pat Pattison, who started the songwriting program over at Berkeley, teaches there most years. There are a few Berkeley folks that come out. There's, over the years, folks like Josh Ritter and Lisa Loeb have taught there. Vance Gilbert, who's like a local folkie for me, teaches there almost pretty much every year. There's some performance stuff there. There's like if you're looking to get into the business side of things, there's a focus on business stuff. If you want to do that, it's been a really big part of my life, and really big support for my songwriting.
Interesting. So, north of Boulder, is that affected by these fires that's happened? That's an
I
area.
don't think, yeah, I think there have been fires nearby. I don't think there have been fires on the ranch there.
Okay.
And certainly there have been years that I've been there where, open fires are not allowed because it's so dry.
Absolutely.
But I haven't heard anything about fires on the ranch. I know there have been some fires nearby though.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah.
So, of your classes, if you can think back, has there been a song, a person, something that stands out to you that, wow, that came out from this 7-day challenge thing?
Oh man, there's one of the, like, early on, this song Trouble on the Way, that talking about my own songs, that was a song that was like, I think that was one of the first weeks I did. I did it with this I had asked my friend Ellis Delaney if she wanted to like try doing this thing with me. And that song in particular, just like, there have been a couple people who've covered it, I think, and put it on. My friend Rob Roper put it on his album. And it's just like one of these songs that for me was, it's still a song that I perform from time to time if and when I'm performing, if I go out to an open mic or something like that. It just became kind of a staple. In the last couple of years, there's a song that starts. I think the Shuffle of the Moonlight is I think what I'm calling it. I don't know. I have it. I think I have it up on my YouTube channel. I'll definitely put it up there for the podcast. But that's a song that, for whatever reason, I forget if I even wrote it during a challenge. It may have just been like a weekly prompt, but that was one that, there's something about that song that I just find really affecting. That, like, when I sing it, it just moves me, and that's like one of those things that, one of those clues that you're working on is good. It's when it actually moves you. Obvious. I don't know if it's obvious or not, but that's one of those things that so many artists over the years, so many people that I respect have said, like, if a thing that you write makes you cry while you're writing it, like, you're probably on target. You're probably
Right.
Scott Adams talks about it in a different way. Scott Adams is the guy who wrote Dilbert. He talked about, I think it was on Tim Ferriss's podcast, he talked about, he knows he's on track if, you know, a joke that he puts in one of his strips like makes him laugh out loud, you know, and he can't stop laughing. um I think those like kind of emotional reactions are really important, just markers to that let you know that what you're doing is worthwhile, at least for yourself. But if it moves you, it's likely, very likely, gonna move someone else as well.
So have you had any students that they produced something during your class that was like, wow?
There are. It's funny because there's the teaching thing is relatively. I mean, I've been teaching for ages, but thinking of it as like a professional thing, is relatively new. But there are so many people that, you know, during the songwriting weeks, like write songs that they love, and write songs that they put on an album. My friend Maya Byrne said, texted me the other day to let me know that she is this particular song that she wrote is going to be, kind of the centerpiece of the album. It sounds like something that it may be the title track, or it's a theme or something like that. So yeah, really, like that process of writing 7 songs in 7 days. Many of those individual songs will probably be kind of, you know, just things that, um well, I guess the better way to say it is like any song that you write and that is leading you to something. How do I want to say this? Like, there are going to be songs that, like, during the week that are kind of, that are not your best songs. Like, Pat Pattison says that 90% of Dylan's songs are not his best 10%, which I love. And I feel like I rarely come out of a week without a song that, like, I at least enjoy greatly. And like very often, like that process of just like sitting down every day for 7 days straight, like I feel like they're what I call like miracle songs, like that will just like Trouble on the Way for me was the song that just like I didn't know that I had that story in me, but when I sat down that morning and started writing, like it showed up. And it
Wow.
showed up in a way that, like, when I was starting to write, like I felt like I was writing like a Budweiser beer commercial at first, and I was like, okay, just like keep, this is crap, but just keep going. You know, trust the process, or however I said it at that point. I don't think I said trust the process. That sounds way too intellectual. It's like it was more like this sucks, like, but I'm gonna keep going. Um, then like something clicked, and I, you know, the first line is Janie rode in on the street that her dad rode out on, or something like that. Um, and that line, like I could almost feel it like click in, where I was like, oh, something's happening now. And it's very much a feeling. It's not intellectual thing. It's not like a thought, oh, this is good. It's like, oh, I'm excited now. I'm just gonna, you know, and and it just happened. And I feel like, you know, with that other song, like the Shuffle of the Moonlight song, it's like I had no idea what I was writing, but you know, it just kind of clicked into place. And that's kind of, I mean, you know, you're a creative person. Like it doesn't, it's, there's this mysterious like kind of black box with creativity that at a certain point, like it just starts happening. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm writing, for it to just like kind of click into place and for it to start happening. And for it to start happening, I have to show up,
Mm,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So on this podcast, Bloom Where You're Planted, I always ask what that phrase means to you.
Well, I've heard similar phrases before. And I think for me, like it just speaks to working with what you have. You know, if you bloom where you're planted, like if you're planted, you're not moving anywhere. Um, and you know, just taking what you have and working from that. It really reminded me of this. I just picked up "Start Where You Are" by Pema Chodron again the other day, and the first lines from that is, we already have everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. All these trips that we lay on ourselves, the heavy duty fearing that we're bad and hoping that we're good, never touch our basic wealth. And that basic wealth is that idea of what is everyone, according to, her philosophy, according to Buddhism, has this, or at least that sect of Buddhism, has basic wealth, has this like kind of untouchable purity or purity isn't quite the right word, but this thing that is good in and of itself. And I feel like that's sort of what that plant, Bloom from Where You Planted, is kind of talking about when I hear it. It's like all this stuff that I think on a daily basis is wrong and I need to fix. Like if I can just remember I'm okay, like that's just my thoughts, I can kind of work with what I have much more in a much more helpful way, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. So what kind of words of wisdom would you offer to someone that does what you do? And for you, it's mostly the songwriting school or the classes.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways it's kind of just that thing. I mean, that idea of starting where you are with what you have and just working with that. And I find time I start to make plots and plans about how I'm going to make something better, especially if I haven't actually written it yet, I get tripped up, and that's, basically, resistance or the gremlins talking. That kind of thinking mind isn't terribly helpful. But if I just, let go and, kind of start where I am, and work with what arises in that moment, like there's just so much more opportunity, like the opportunities bloom, if you will. There's just so much more opportunity that opens up.
What's next for Timmy Riordan?
Right now I am going to be starting doing, when the pandemic first began, I was offering, because I had so much time on my hands, we did this weekly song group where people would show up and offer prompts. And I think there was like an hour and 15 minutes maybe, where people would go off and write the song, kind of like the workshop we did.
Okay.
And then come back and we'd share the song. And that's something that I'm going to be starting to offer again, starting at the end of February. And then I'm going to be offering some workshops on the songwriting as well, on music theory, on this idea, bead guides chord flow, which is, if you're a songwriter and you're interested in how music works and what chords work well together and that sort of stuff, and other music theory has turned you off, this is a way to approach things that is pretty much just simple and sensible. It's not talking about intervals or even, for the most part, it's just talking about chords. It's just talking about how chords work together.
Well, Timmy, I always called you Tim.
Either,
sorry.
It's fine.
So I thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today. So I think our time is about coming to a close. So hi to Massachusetts. And I miss it a lot sometimes, I miss the studio. We had some great times there. So thanks again. And this is Laura Womack signing off from Bloom Where You're Planted podcast that is sponsored by Never Too Late Cafe. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thanks, Tim.